Assalamu alaikum and hello everybody. I hope you're all doing really well. So welcome to today's video where I share how I plan and prepare a week of dinners. So I thought I'd get ahead and plan and prepare a week of dinners in one day on the day that we do our grocery shop. So I've got this template, what's for dinner. It's available on my blog if you're interested. I'll put a link in the description. I basically printed it out, laminated it, and I'm using a white clean pen to write down the meals for the week. So I prepared the meals or prepared the ingredients I needed for the meals on one day. And I basically just wrote down what we were having for dinner for each day and what ingredients were needed, some basic ingredients. Not every little spice and everything, but just main ingredients. So Monday, spaghetti and meatballs. Tuesday, fish and veg pie with some potato wedges. Wednesday, lamb pilau with some potato salad. Thursday, grilled peri chicken legs with some chips. Friday, we normally have a takeaway, but since I was meal prepping anyway, I thought I'd prepare an extra meal and we can have it maybe for lunch over the weekend. So that meal was some chicken and pepper wraps. And then Saturday, some jacket potatoes with tuna and sweet corn. Sunday, chicken and spinach curry with some naan. By the way, the kids have been using my white clean pen. That's why it's not writing as beautifully as it should. So once I'd planned everything, I stuck it onto my fridge using a fridge magnet and then went ahead and started preparing some ingredients. So first of all, I cut a load of onions. So the plan was to cut 6 or 7 onions. If you've got normal or large sized onions, 6 should be fine, but some of mine were small, so I cut 7. And I basically just peeled and sliced them in the chopper. And I was going to make the filling for the fish and veg pie. So I've added some oil to a pan, the onions, cooked them, and then added frozen mixed veg, cooked that on a low until it's soft. Added some seasoning. And then just added the fillets and carefully moved them around the pan. So while that was cooking, I sliced the rest of the onions and then added them to a large pan with some oil. I was gonna make some curry sauce and split it between 2 meals. So one of the meals was the lamb pilau, which we were gonna have on the day, and the other half of the curry sauce would be for a chicken and spinach curry. So once the fish had cooked, I've added butter, plain flour, stirred in some milk, and then cooked that until it's a little bit thicker. I turned the heat off and allowed that to cool. And I'm just stirring the onions and tomatoes for the curry sauce. Added in the salt, spices, garlic, ginger, chilli. And then I've got 2 onions. I'm finely chopping them. One of them I used to make some meatballs. So in this mixing bowl, I've got some lamb mince with lots of different ingredients, which are listed in the description and on screen. So I just mixed everything together using my hand. And then shaped into meatballs and put them onto a foil lined oven rack. So I like to bake my meatballs for about 20 minutes and then I freeze them. On the day that I'm going to cook them, just take them out in the morning and then put them in the pasta sauce. Make sure they cook thoroughly and it just makes life a lot easier if you've got everything prepared and you just assemble it. Once I put the meatballs in the oven, I added the fish and veg pie filling to a baking dish. And then topped it with the ready rolled puff pastry sheet. Poked a few holes using a fork and sprayed with some sunflower oil, covered with cling film and froze that. Next I prepared the sauce for the meatballs, so like a pasta sauce. I've got a little bit of oil, the finely chopped onion, some passata, a whole tub of that 500 grams. And then a bit of seasoning, not too much. You can add other ingredients, but since this was for meatballs, I just left it as a plain pasta sauce. Once the meatballs had baked and cooled down, I transferred them to a freezer bag. And when the pasta sauce had cooled down a bit, I also transferred that to a freezer bag. And there they are, ready and raring to go for one day. So the curry sauce, like I said, I was going to split it between 2 meals, which is what I'm doing now. So one half I left in the pan to make the lamb pilau on the same day, and then the other half I put it into a freezer bag, and this was going to be used for a chicken and spinach curry. And then I went ahead and made the lamb pilau. So I've got some whole spices and some extra salt. Because I'm going to be adding rice to the meal, it needs some extra salt in there. If I was just making a curry, I wouldn't bother adding extra salt. And I've got some diced lamb, so I chucked that in. Then I added some Greek yogurt, stirred that in. And added some water. I brought it to the boil, put the pan lid on, turned it down, and allowed that to cook for about an hour. Next, I was making some marinade for some chicken drumsticks, so like a peri marinade. Just add all the ingredients that are on screen or in the description. Mix it all together, and I'm putting some slits in some chicken drumsticks. Coat them fully in the marinade. And I plan to make these the following day, so I just put them in the fridge. If I was going to make them a few days after, I would have put them in a freezer bag and put them in the freezer. So I'm just soaking some rice for the pilau. And then I'm making the marinade for the Cajun chicken wraps. Ignore the Asda receipt on the floor, okay? So I've got some chicken thigh pieces, mixed them in the marinade, coat them fully, and I'm just cutting some veg for the wrap. So I've got bell peppers and red onions, just slicing everything. And I put the veg in a freezer bag. And the marinated chicken in a separate freezer bag. So on the day, take them out and allow them to defrost. Chuck the chicken and the veg into a pan, and then you can make your wraps as you like. So back to the pilau, the lamb has cooked. I've added rice and some hot boiled water, allowed that to cook for about 10 minutes. And then I thought I'd make a potato salad on the side. I got these cute miniature potatoes from Aldi. So all I'm doing is boiling the potatoes, bring them to the boil, cook for about 4 minutes and poke them with a fork to see if they're ready. I've got some chickpeas and I'm just draining the potatoes. I cut some red onion, cucumber, tomato, and then added the potatoes, either whole or cut them in half, depending on their size. Added the chickpeas and just mix that all together. I also sprinkled some salt and coarse black pepper and I added some lettuce. So the pilau's ready. It's time to serve dinner. And this is basically how I planned and prepared a week of dinners for our family of 9. I hope you enjoyed watching, and like I said, if you want that template, it's on my blog. I'll put a link in the description. Jazakallah, thank you so much for watching. Inshallah, see you in the next one. Take care. Salam. Bye.